This episode of the Fight Within podcast is presented to you by Meguiar's. For over 115 years, Meguiar's has been carefully creating and producing advanced formulas with cutting-edge chemistry to deliver a show car perfect appearance. Whether you're showing on the fairway, finalizing your car for auction, or simply getting your beloved car ready for a weekend drive, Meguiar's is ready to help with their premium car care products to make every automotive surface look its absolute best. Meguiar's, reflect your passion. Make sure to visit them at meguiars.com.
What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Fight Within podcast. Today's guest is Alex DeHue, who is a U.S. Marine veteran.
Forever.
He is a Marine veteran, a Jiu Jitsu competitor, and a Jiu Jitsu gym owner over at Gracie Barra Garden Grove.
Yep.
So thanks, man. Thanks so much for being here. I'm very jealous of your hair. And let's dive right in, man. Tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how you got to where you're at, and why now you're a business owner and all that good stuff.
All right. It would take a long time to say, how I got to where I am, but I think who I am, I'm someone who at core wants to change the world. Mm-hmm. I'm someone who I want to live an adventurous life that is adventurous in a way that's impactful, meaningful, and in a way that leaves this world in a better place than I've found it.
Yeah.
So I think at the core of me, that fire lives within me, and it comes with a perspective of knowing that I get to have these type of dreams and a way of living my life with that dream and at my center because a lot of people have come before me and sacrificed a lot, and so I'm a recipient of all those sacrifices. Mm-hmm. I'm a recipient of immeasurable luck, like being born in America, mm-hmm. having 2 arms, 2 legs, a working brain, a childhood where I got to read a lot, lived in multiple countries, got to experience different cultures, meet a ton of people from different walks of life. I got to walk in different types of walks of life as well, and I feel that obviously that's given me a unique perspective. Mm-hmm. But also it's fortified my sense of duty to want to live a meaningful life. Mm-hmm. Like it really has like fortified that spirit within me. And the way I achieve that mission is I feel through different avenues. On a personal one, anyone I interact with, I do my best to always bring the best of me forth. Mm-hmm. And we're adults, so we know that's not always easy.
Yeah,
sure. Make time for people, be the best version of myself to them. So that would be like one avenue. A big avenue, obviously, is the work that I do. Mm-hmm. And the work that I do is I have a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu school, as you mentioned, where I get to teach Jiu Jitsu. That's crazy. Feels like a dream often, mm-hmm. Because you guys own your own businesses. And then being in that world, being in that role, obviously affords me different opportunities. So I kind of take those up whenever mm-hmm. I can. And I balance that out with definitely on the more selfish side of my life with pursuing all my passions to the fullest. So anything that I'm interested in, mm-hmm. or I'm passionate about, like I indulge, maybe to a fault. I indulge in, like, whether it's surfing, video games, camping, hanging out with my friends, and all that. So I feel like that's kind of how I live my life, mm-hmm. how I've been living it for quite a bit of time. And all that obviously is kind of grounded, is nurtured, and has been kind of shaped by my walk with God. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of who I am, or at least the way I try to live my life.
That's good. So I think that's the first time we've had someone give like a life philosophy,
for sure,
of how you live your life within like the first 3.5 minutes. That was solid. But one, like, dude, one, thank you for coming on and spending time with us. I know everyone's busy, so we appreciate it. But 2, something you just said that kind of stuck out to me, and it's true because I've witnessed this. Like, I think we've only known each other maybe like 2 or 3 months.
Yes.
But in that 2 or 3 months, like, I feel like we've known each other forever.
Absolutely.
Right? Like literally, you're like I feel like you're like one of my boys. And so when you said you try to bring forth like your best effort. Like when you meet everyone, I remember the first time I met you, it was like, oh my gosh, it's like this. We've been friends forever.
Yeah.
In day one, I met him at the Santa Ana shop.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what you said is what I got, and I've got that every single time I've seen you or talked to you. So I think that's super cool because a lot of people say they do certain stuff.
Yeah.
And then obviously the camera goes off, the microphones turn off, and
Yeah.
they don't do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, I really appreciate when it's something so simple, but apparently in today's world it's not anymore.
Yep.
But when you your word is your word.
You were real.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So just to recap, because we kind of talked a lot about this before we started, but you're from Belgium.
Yep.
Which is where, if you can hear throughout this episode, for a while I was like, dude, where is this guy's freaking accent from? It's not like enough to be like, okay, you're from there. I literally sang before we started recording, I was like, man, sometimes are you Brazilian? Are you Islander? Are you French? Are you where? Who are you? But so Belgium, you grew up there from basically your formative years, so to speak, as a kid.
Yeah.
From there, moved back to the States.
Yes.
High school here. After high school, what prompted you to decide to join the Marine Corps?
Oh, okay. So, real quick on the accent thing, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know if you mind me sharing.
Yes, please do.
It's funny because amongst all my peers, whether it was jiu-jitsu peers, high school peers, college, or like military, everyone has always mentioned or made fun of certain words that I say. One that I remember a lot is when I was in high school, and everything. The American experience for me was all new to me. So football. Once I joined the football team, it was like a crazy adventure. But we're in a weight room, and our team sucked like so bad. And this is on my second or third year, and I was trying to get everybody hyped up about, hey, this year we're gonna change it. We're gonna make things different this year. And I'm like. And we're in the weight room, so I'm like, so we gotta make sure we lift. We gotta make sure, we work on all the plays, offense, defense, but we also really need endurance. And everybody stopped. And I was like, what? They were like, what? And I was like, endurance. You run and you don't get tired. You go endurance. And then that was like a joke for like running years. Anyways, and I still do that to this day. Like there's words that I don't pronounce correct. I have like the French.
Yeah, well, you're way smarter than us. You speak more than one language.
I don't know about smarter, but
more. You guys are both smarter than me. I can only speak English.
So joining the Marines. Oh man. So, back to what I was saying earlier, that there was definitely a spirit in me that was like, I got to change the world. I got to be impactful in some way or another. And in high school, I was already living with a friend, so I had a kind of tumultuous background as far as my life at home. Mm-hmm. And so by the time I think I was a sophomore or junior, I kind of had to run away. And I moved in with a friend. So by the time I graduated high school, I was kind of living with friends, and teenager without parents obviously gets into a lot of trouble. Mm-hmm. And in certain ways I was kind of a hothead. I was still me, like a very nice guy, but if anytime you got pushed into certain areas, like I'd get wild. So at that time of my life, things were crazy, and I had gotten into a little bit of trouble. And one of my really good friends' sister was a recruiter. And she had mentioned joining the Marines. She had mentioned, that could help my life, both with going to college and both with she'd go to court and talk for me. And so I was like, maybe I could take the military route. And then I was like, well, which one's the best military? So that was my notion. Like, okay, if I'm going to do the military, which one's the hardest? And the Marines always like, we're the hardest.
Yeah, naturally.
And so I was like, all right, sign me up for that one. So, and this is obviously also at the time so I graduated in 2002. Okay. So this is right after 9/11. And there was all these different emotions and things that also led me to, okay, this is a good path. I can go be in the military, serve my country, do something special. And then after it's all said and done, I'll go to college. Mm-hmm. So that kind of is what brought me, I think, into the Marines.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you graduated 2002. So like literally right after 9/11.
Yep. Yep.
So you literally went boot camp and deployed.
So in a way, I got kind of lucky because I joined when I was 17.
Okay.
And I heard you on the last podcast. You joined when you were 17 too.
Yeah, my mom had to sign, and she was not
That's
stoked.
dope.
Yeah, she was not stoked about that.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
I had to go. I didn't live with my dad at the time, and so I had to call him and be like, "Hey, I need you to sign some
this?
papers."
Yeah.
And so that was kind of weird, but yeah. So I got kind of lucky when I joined. Oh, thank you, appreciate that.
Got a coffee break.
When I joined, my unit was Anglico. So we talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But when I got to my unit, they were already deployed.
Okay.
So I missed that first round of go. I think so, 2003, and that's kind of the beginning when
That would have been right at Iraq, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I didn't deploy until I think 2005, to be honest. So I got to.
Which was still freaking wild.
It was, yeah. It was interesting to say the least.
That's kind of cool though, because I think so. When I went in, I got to my unit and they were in the workup already.
Yes.
And we deployed like, I forget, like I wasn't there very long. Like I remember checking in. You know, you're this scared little freaking dude, and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
I go to the room to put my stuff down, and the unit was already in the field. And I was like, dude, I just got here. Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't go to the field.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have any of my gear yet.
Yep.
And so I had to go straight to get my gear, and then they sent me to the field.
Got you.
I was like, this is.
What do
I guess
do?
this is what I signed up
Yeah,
for.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I
Can't
think
go back now.
Yeah, I think we deployed within. I want to say within like my first several months of being in my
Wow.
unit, we deployed.
Yeah, that's intense.
Which I think I was 19.
Yep, that's
And
intense.
you're like going to Iraq at 19. You're like,
Yup.
dude, this is crazy. No wonder all these freaking guys come back psychotic. No offense, but I mean, I just,
definitely that can definitely be a byproduct of going to war. That's another thing. Sorry, because I was listening to you guys' podcast and you guys were talking about various things, like especially like the state of our nation now.
Mhm.
And you had mentioned the culture being softer
Yeah.
than previous generations, and I think you're right on that. But I also think there's obviously way more variables
Sure.
other than just being soft. But I don't know. As you're saying this, I'm thinking, I remember being like 19 and you're writing your will.
yeah.
Yeah, you're writing
Or
your
like
will.
you're scared. Yeah,
Yep.
like
And you're literally having to write, when I die, like this is who my
who
life
my
insurance is going to go to.
my money goes to.
Who's going to be in charge of my funerals and not saying that everybody needs to experience that, but what a powerful experience, because it puts your mind in a weird perspective where, okay, I'm most likely going to die, so what can my life mean? Who's going to do I don't know, who's going to be in charge of
whatever I have.
yeah,
type thing.
whatever
Yeah.
I have. I don't know. And I feel that's kind of powerful. It kind of humbles you in so many different ways. It hardens you in certain ways too.
Mhm.
But I think it gives you a perspective to look beyond yourself.
Yeah.
And I think we all need that.
And at a young age too.
At a young age.
It's a trip, dude.
That's
Like,
weird.
Oh, yeah.
That's weird.
Like I grew up here, right, Orange County. Freaking seeing $500,000 cars is like a
Yep.
normal thing, $1 million cliff homes is a
Yep.
normal thing.
Mhm.
The snobbiness of, especially where Manny and I live, South County, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And then to go into that, and I vividly remember like getting told I'm going to be going on my first patrol,
Yeah.
and I literally remember having those thoughts of, dude, this might be it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
is this it? Like you try not to have those thoughts.
Correct,
Like,
correct,
and any freaking Marine or any veteran, anyone that has gone on a combat deployment and tries to say they weren't scared their first time, like,
Yeah.
if you weren't scared, you're stupid. But two, like, it was, I still remember it, and that was in 2007, and I still vividly remember the feeling I had. I was like, am I never going to get to get married? Because I was
Yeah,
dating
yeah.
this girl that I
Oh
thought
my
we were going
gosh,
to get married,
that's-
like, am I never going to get to marry? Am I
Yes.
not going to have kids? Like,
That
Is
feeling
this it?
sucks, by the way.
Right?
You're like, oh my gosh, this is it. Or
Yeah.
do I come back with no legs?
yeah, I wish, and I always told myself I'd rather,
Yes. Yes.
I don't need to say it, but
Right.
I would rather come back in one piece or not at all.
Or not at
Yeah.
all.
But no, it's I love because we don't have as many veterans on as you would think we would have.
Yeah.
not intentionally, it just hasn't happened. So anytime it's here, and it's just a cool thing to be able to be like, hey, like you've gone through extremely similar things that I have.
Yep.
And I always just like to ask like certain things, like, so like the why of joining the Marine Corps for you makes sense for what your life was at that time. And then for someone like me, like I had an amazing life. I have amazing parents. I've been very fortunate and very blessed with the life that my parents were able to give my sister and I. Like I didn't need to go do that, but
Correct.
It was something that like God has like timing on everything, and he obviously knows what we're going to do before we even do it. And so for me, it was one of those things where it's like, all right, like it was meant for me to walk through to kind of find my own way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Find my own self, become like the man that I am today, and that I continue to try to be for like my wife and my family and for my friends and stuff like that. But because I had a lot of buddies that were forced into it,
Correct,
or didn't have the life that I had.
Right.
So it's always the flip of the other side of the coin is like some of the guys be like, why the heck did you join the Marine Corps? Like, you had blah, blah, like your parents would have paid for your college. You could have done this. You could have, I was like, yeah, but and you look at it now and I'm like, where would I be if I didn't go through those things?
Right.
Would I be some freaking punk 35-year-old
for sure
kid,
Yeah.
Or would I be having to hustle and earn and grind and appreciate everything, not just like the luxuries we have, but just like the life that we have here.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so passionate about like when Manny and I do talk about like the state of our country. And I am so passionate about, if you don't like it, leave.
Yeah.
Like I have like, dude,
I heard that one where you guys.
I have no problem saying it. If that offends somebody, then like, then why don't you look at yourself and figure out why it's offending you?
Yeah.
Like you are awarded all the things we have here because we live in America.
Yeah.
And people forget that.
People, I wouldn't even say forget. I think they don't know. They're so disconnected from history, for instance. Like, in the beginning when you ask, who I am, like I kind of said, and I said I got to read a lot as a kid. Like the Belgium system for education, they make you read so much. And, without knowing, like, man, all these stories live in my head. World War II was such a big part of my upbringing, like in Belgium. Because,
especially in Belgium, yeah.
All the monuments, like everything, my family deeply impacted. My grandpa, black man with a white woman, post World War II. So he was in the army, he did D-Day, and then after the war, he ended up staying in Belgium because this is pre-civil rights movement. So it was better to be a black American over there than it was to be, relatively speaking, than it is to be then back in the U.S. So he stayed in Belgium and he met my grandma, and then you just go down the line of history that I'm here because of that.
Yeah.
Like, so my family's also connected to like that history, and I feel like back to what you're saying is sometimes people don't know, they don't really know, or if you ever gone to a third world country, I don't know if you had a chance to, like you don't know until you see it.
I think they're not exposed to it.
Yeah.
And if they are, they want to shut it down or put it away because you want more.
Yep.
And I think especially like for me, like our family came from Mexico to LA.
Yep.
And we were, even my family now, my parents were the only family to move to Orange County. I either have family in Mexico or LA. That's it. And all of my cousin just moved to the Inland Empire. But I think you try to, like someone at when I started building my family, it's not that I don't want to expose them to that, but because I want better, because I want to do better, they don't see it. They don't see that part of our family. They don't see that, that realness I get.
Yeah.
And it's kind of come back to bite me in the ass a little bit with, my daughter thinking that if she just asked for something, it should be given to her. And I'm like, oh, that's my fault. That's no one else's fault. So yeah, I think people aren't exposed to it, and if they are, if they want to move ahead, they kind of hide that part of their background, because it's okay to be proud to be Mexican. It's okay to be, you want to be a proud Filipino.
Yeah.
But you don't want to be proud of like all the crap.
Correct.
Like you don't want to be like, oh yeah, my grandpa was a rapist,
Yeah,
and that's what. Like,
yeah.
no, you're not gonna say that.
Yeah.
Not that he was. I'm just like, my grandpa. I don't think your guy's grandpa was a rapist. I'm just saying, like, you don't want that. No one's gonna come out and be like, grandpa, number one rapist in the world.
Yeah.
Like you're proud of the heritage and the things it teaches you,
Right.
but I don't know, man. It's just different. I think back to the point you were talking about. Yeah, I think people want to hide it. They want to shun it because where we live is only you can drive 20, 30 minutes up on the freeway and it's a completely different world.
Yep.
And you
Literally
see
different world.
I agree.
I mean, right outside of this office, you see guys that are strung out on XYZ drug and are just hanging out. And some guys I see every day when I'm up here, and I'm like, I know that guy.
Yeah.
And it's like it hurts my heart, but two, it motivates me too because I'm like, you're one mistake away or one bad experience away from going down the wrong path.
Yeah.
And so I think it's neat that you grew up in Belgium because you had that experience. You were exposed to those type of things. And, every time I meet someone that has exposure, goes through different cultures, they appreciate what's here a lot more.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So talk on that a little bit. Like how was it coming from, like Ben was saying, your formative years were in a completely different country with a completely different culture and probably set of rules.
Yeah.
And then you come to the States and it's like you're almost thrown into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, hey, here's burgers and fries. You better like them.
Man, it was wild. To be honest, it was so wild. Like we could spend an entire hour talking about it. But so in Belgium, the culture, I might as well have been in a different dimension. To be honest, it was that much of a shift. So the culture over there is very liberal. The South, and especially in the South because it's the French side.
Good old French.
Yeah, and there's even in my family and me and my dad, we kind of joke about this. But if you take on any big endeavor, one of the things our grandma would say, but this is something that's said kind of across the board in other families too. C'est trop ça. C'est trop ça. Which means, oh, that's too much. It's okay. Like, just do enough.
Yeah.
That's part of, the heart that lives there. It's like, just do enough. Like, just get by. And so you have a liberal culture plus that kind of mentality. And they put a lot of value, let's say, on socializing, on conversation, on human experience. And it's such a small country that they also look at the world a lot.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Since it's so tiny, you don't have that much, let's say, going on. They've produced amazing things. Belgium is awesome. I love the freaking country, but it's a small country, so the culture also looks outward, which is kind of neat. Then, anyways, and then I grew up with my grandma, and I was the only boy. Everybody outside of my cousin, everybody's white.
Yeah.
So I was always also at odds. I was also the outsider. I was the only boy. Even in Belgium, so our immigrants are Moroccans, so there's not a lot of like this complexion.
Yeah.
So they would just assume I'm Moroccan. So I kind of got that heat, which they would say things like "sale Marocain," which means dirty Moroccan. It's funny. I'm gonna keep going on weird side notes, but when people talk about racism, it's crazy in America. Like my friends in Belgium would say
like
that.
An American racism.
Yeah. But to be honest, when I came to America, that's not what I experienced. I actually felt like I experienced way more of that over there.
Sure.
And the older I got, the more I'm like, oh shoot, like here's freaking good. It's weird. We could talk about that another time. But anyway, so then I come to America, and then America is huge. Everything's the high schools are like the best college we have over there. Like I'm mind blown. So I'm like, wait, you got sports teams, all this different thing. Everything's huge. Not only that. Culturally, everything was different. It was like being the best was like a thing. Being the best in anything was a thing, which is weird. So you could be the best computer nerd. You could be the best artist. You could be the best jock. So there was like best for everything, which I found to be, for me, amazing because I used to watch cartoons. Cartoons like, you guys ever watch Dragon Ball?
No.
You watched it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it kind of set a baseline where I was always wanting to do something special and big, you know.
Yeah.
And culturally over there they don't nurture that so much. So when I came here, it was a gigantic shift. And then, but also, you know, with that comes, this is like late 90s. So, you know, kind of violent high school life, right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
everything's way different, everything,
Yeah.
you know. So how was it shifting? Oh man, I wouldn't even know where to start. But it was drastic.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And at the same time, I feel lucky that I got to go from one extreme to another.
Oh yeah. And if it's like anything else though, if it's, you know, too much of anything could be bad.
Yeah.
Because then the pressure, especially in athletics here,
Yeah.
it's like you got to be the best football player, the best hockey player,
Yeah.
the best, you know, baseball, and it's like the kid or the participant never gets to fully really enjoy the process or the growth or just have a love for the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer, because like anything you do, it's like you have to love what you're doing.
Yes.
And it's awesome to want to be motivated, to want to be the best. Yes,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is going to produce greatness. And when you surround yourself with those type of people, like they're going to push you.
Yes.
They're going to push you to want to do things, but it could be overboard where you're just focused on that peak of the mountain
Yes.
and never really enjoying the climb. Like you're never
Yeah.
enjoying the process. You just want to get there, but you don't ever take time to look back and say like, wow, you know, 2 years ago, I would have never gotten up early. 2 years ago, I would have never paid attention. I was stubborn. I didn't want to learn. I didn't want to grow. And that's why I think it's so interesting that you are now a jiu-jitsu practitioner and owner, because it's like, that's the whole point of jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
It's like you want to learn, you want to grow,
Yep.
you want to continually get better. Like your style is different than his style, and his style is different than my style.
Yep.
But we can all learn something from each other.
Yes.
Our experience levels are all different, but we could also still learn something from each other. And I think that's the cool thing about like growing up in a different country too, is because you appreciate that aspect of it, you know?
Yep.
And I think when people know like the history of something, you appreciate it more.
Yeah.
Like people don't know that jiu-jitsu isn't Brazilian.
Yeah.
It's not originally from Brazil.
Yep,
There
yep.
is a form of jiu-jitsu that is Brazilian
Correct.
jiu-jitsu that gets all the hype because of the UFC and the Gracie family and
Yep.
them dominating the tournament, and you know when it first started. Is it from Japan? Is it Japanese?
It's Japanese, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was very defensive,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then Brazilian jiu-jitsu turned it more aggressive,
Yes.
more offensive. There's more finishes. There's more things like that. So talk to us a little bit about that and how you transitioned from coming over here, joining the Marines,
Yeah.
and then getting out. Like, how was it getting out? What did you do?
Uh.
Did you know what you wanted to do after you got out?
Okay, so back to what I was saying earlier, you know, the notion that I want to change the world, right? I want
Yeah.
to leave it better than I found it. That was always there deep within me. So, but a passion, something that I was really drawn to was combat. I
Mm-hmm.
was super into combat sports. But at that point, I had never gotten the opportunity to practice the sports. I practiced combat, the Marines,
Yeah.
but I didn't get to do the sports part, which I always found fascinating. Again, because I watched Dragon Ball growing up.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I was always about fighting. And then I always got in fights because I was, like I was saying, I was always the outsider. You know, in Belgium, I was the outsider. I was the
Mhm.
American kid that looked Moroccan. When I came back here, I was the Belgium kid.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, but I'm American. And it's like, F you. You're a French. You're a little Frenchy. You know, so, and, you know, and I was small, you know, so I was always getting to crazy stuff. So, anyways, I was just really into fighting. I loved fighting. One thing the Marines did for me, especially deploying, and I'm sure you can relate to that, is it really puts in perspective the fragility of it all.
Mhm.
Like, I could lose all this. Oh shit, if I lose all this, what am I? Okay, well, since I get to be all this now, shoot, I should have been more thankful for it.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, I should have done all this. Oh, you know, like, so you start thinking about all that. And after deployment, during deployment, I remember thinking, man, if I make it back, and I almost made a pact with God, you know, which we all start doing once they get into, you know, chaotic situations. I remember saying, like, if I make it out of this, I'm gonna really do what I want to do. Like, I'm gonna pursue the things that drive me, that drive my heart. And with that, of course, is the desire to change the world and be impactful. And so at that moment when I came back, I was like, man, I could be in UFC. Like, I feel that's going to be something that I'll always be interested in. And then so if I'm going to be in the UFC, I need a... I was already boxing at the time, so I love boxing. But I was like, man, I got to go learn jiu-jitsu. So when I came back, I found a jiu-jitsu school, started training. That was kind of my transition out. And jiu-jitsu actually ended up, in many ways, saving me, I would say. It kind of slowed things down for me a lot. It gave me something to pour my fighting spirit into. Because, you know, you come back from deployment and you're going 100 miles per hour mentally. You know, tomorrow, mission, you know, are there artillery bombs coming in? You know, we're going to get a firefight today. What's the mission today? You know, is an ID going to go off today? Like, it's just everything's 100. And since everything's 100, like, all of you from top to bottom is that. And you come back and there's no more mission. You're like, what the fuck? But you still have that warrior spirit. You still have all the mechanisms where you're ready to do something. And that wasn't that easy for me to transition to, as you're asking, to transition out of. And jiu-jitsu definitely helped me with that. Boxing's great, but boxing's violent. It's like, you know, you're
just trying to kill each other.
Yeah, and obviously it's the sweet science of striking, so I don't want to take that part out. But jiu-jitsu is like, man, tiny guy just murders you. A girl, if she's powerful enough, murders you, you know, and you're just like, what is this? You know, so anyways.
I ask myself that 4 times a week. What is this?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
And jiu-jitsu allowed me to really dive into that activity and extract so much out of it, including patience, including slowing things down, including, oh shoot, I could teach this. You know, it's kind of something like that. And not only can I teach this, I can teach this for a lifetime. And I can create my own Marine brotherhood, my own Marine sisterhood. And, you know, I didn't feel I could do that with, let's say, MMA. I couldn't do that with boxing. I couldn't have students, hundreds of students. You go to any boxing gym, there's not 200, you know, 500 people attending. You know, there's no such thing. But in jiu-jitsu, there is. And that was kind of weird to me. And I was like, oh, shoot, this might be the tool that I use to kind of do something special with my life. And at that time, I was already very interested in teaching. I was very interested in the notion of like, okay, when you're dealing with adults, you're dealing with a finished product. But when you're dealing with kids, you get to build them.
Yeah, you get to help shape.
Yeah, you truly actually build. And you know that because you coach high school football. It's like, man, you can really shape how they perceive the world or what they aim at. You can affect what they choose to aim at if you do it correctly. So, you know, all these ideas are living in my head, like these constructs are living in my head. And then once I came across jiu-jitsu, I was like, damn, this might be it right here. And then as my competitive career started going down due to injuries, I definitely started shifting to coaching. And then eventually, and I found a lot of passion in coaching too, and excitement and fulfillment. And then eventually it led to me having my own school. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Perfect.
No, that's awesome. Because it's the journey, right? It's a
100%.
process. Like you didn't, what we try to hammer home with a lot of people, and it doesn't matter what industry or what you're doing, to get to where you're at in this seat right now, whoever it is, it didn't happen overnight.
No.
You know, like you were telling us before, you listened to Mike's episode from Unsung, and he started in his mid-30s after a gnarly heart issue.
Condition.
He started a brewery who is now really popular here. And what technically we're taught growing up, you know, your mid-30s, you should have your life put together. You should have this, you should have that. Well, that's not true. You know, like it's a journey. And so what I always like to tell people, because people will always say it to me, and it used to make me mad, but now it's kind of just funny to me. Where they'd be like, oh my gosh, like it's so cool, you're so successful. And I'm like, bro, it took me 12 years.
Do you know what it takes?
It took me 12 years to even get to the point where I feel like I've even had somewhat of a success. And I still don't think I'm successful. I think I have had successes. I've been very fortunate. I've been very blessed. Like, I truly believe God's opened doors for me to be able to walk through. And he's also let me walk through doors that I probably kicked open versus, you know, really being open. But the whole point in saying that is so many people, because of what we're used to here in America,
Yep.
they want things right now, right? Like snap, snap, snap. They want it right now.
Yeah.
But-
And we wanted it right now too.
Yeah,
but-
I for sure wanted it. Like,
100%.
I remember opening, the first hidden house, thinking after the first year, like, why am I still working 7 days a week, open and close?
Yep.
Why do I have to move in with my parents because I can't afford to live
Mhm.
anywhere? Like, why am I getting myself into a ton of personal debt because I can't even pay myself because my company's not making it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
those are the things that where I'm like, when people are like, oh yeah, it must be so nice, you're so successful. I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
like,
But even if you go into something else, even if
Yeah.
you go into something like you doing the business coaching and the success that you've had so far is like that, just because it's a different industry doesn't mean that it happened overnight.
no.
True.
You still have those 12 years that you had to work
Yep.
to learn all the things you've learned and grow the way you've grown for you to have that success now.
Absolutely.
And even with that, like, I'm nowhere near the level of a business coach that I want to be. You
Yep.
know, you listen to
Yeah.
someone like, you should listen to Hendre's episode
Okay.
after this. He's the guy that certified and has mentored me as a coach.
Okay.
But you listen to that guy
He's
talk,
so good.
and it's,
Yeah?
I've said it like every episode since he's been on, I think. But it's literally like listening to like a philosopher just talk.
Yeah.
Like, he's talking about this cup,
Yeah.
but he makes this cup sound so good.
Yeah.
And you're like, bro, like that's
Give me that.
That's
Yeah.
like the sweet science of boxing.
Yeah.
He's got like the sweet science of communication
Got you.
and storytelling.
It
But
was awesome.
it's a process that people need to always remember. It doesn't matter if you're a jiu-jitsu athlete, a high school football coach / small business owner, whether you're a coffee roaster, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, whatever the heck you are.
Yeah.
Like, it's a process. It's a journey. And I really, really, really want people to understand that.
Yeah. So like on that, it's like you aim at something whatever your goal is, whatever
Mhm.
your idea of like the best thing you could possibly do with your life. Like you got to do that. And if you do that and you pursue those experiences that go along with that. So you want to be a coffee owner, you want to be a jiu-jitsu top person, you want to be the best football player. Okay, you aim at the highest and then you go dive in it. The higher it is, the crazier the experiences are going to be and the more you can extract out of that.
Mhm.
So the harder
Mhm.
the higher the endeavor you have, like you put out in front of you, the more experiences are going to be like crazy, and then you can extract so much out of those experiences. Like you said, now if I do that for 10 years, you don't think I'm going to learn a structure that tells me on how to do that thing well?
Yeah.
And then I learn how to do that thing well, and then like you said, once I have that structure, I can apply that to anything.
Yeah.
I was a hidden house coffee owner, entrepreneur, but now I know what that takes. Well, I can go be a business coach, no problem. Like, and to what you were saying, people often, whether it's at my school or people that I'm close with, oh, you're so lucky,
Yeah.
oh, you're so this, man. No, man, I was 6 years in the Marines. You think that it didn't feel lucky then? Like, being at war, fire going over your head, like bullets going. That's not lucky. Dealing with injuries.
Mhm.
14 years of doing jiu-jitsu. My first 2 years, I was always the smallest guy in the room. That wasn't easy,
Yeah.
So my whole point is like, it's beyond luck. You got to put that work in, like, and it's not just work hard, of course. Aim at something really high, but that work you can't bypass that.
No.
And the people that do
Mhm.
bypass it or claim that they're doing so well, right, and want to bypass it, it's like
There's
It
not going to be
don't
long.
last.
Yeah.
it doesn't
They don't
last.
last.
It
There's
never
not going to be
does.
longevity in it.
No.
So
Because I think we've, because of what we chose to do,
yeah,
have probably gone or have had at least one of these days your thoughts where it's like, man, I'm not good enough. I don't
Mhm.
deserve this. This is never going to happen for me. When that does happen, how do you overcome that?
Mm.
Or how did you when you started the gym? Because I'm assuming you didn't open the gym and all of a sudden floodgates open.
Everything was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. It's been good ever since.
Yeah, it's just freaking awesome. Oh man. Well, for me, again, it was back to what I was saying. So 6 years in the military will teach you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Deploying, going to war will teach you so much. And one of those things is like the reality of you have to be willing to grind. So
Yeah.
that was 1,000,000% like very solid in my head. But not only that, if you can grind and if you have the right people around you, there's so much good at the end.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, there's good stuff. if that was true in the military, I knew that would be true across the board for anything that I took on. So with the school, whether it was the financial fears, whether it was the social status fears, as far as like, you know, what am I doing with my life? You know, like, or whatever. Like, I overcame, because that structure of knowing that this is what it takes was always ingrained in me through parts of my life. But I would say definitely through the military, or even college. Shoot, when I went to college, like, you know, it takes 4 years to get your degree. Like, that's the structure. That's what it takes. So I don't know if that really answers.
No, it did. It seemed like you learned how to accept whatever was coming your way. Like, you knew, like, hey, this is what it's gonna take. Yeah. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, not to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
With that, it's like, in the military, you're part of a group, but you can't rely on the group either. You also have to be a component in the group. So you have to be both. You have to be the incredibly strong individual so that you can carry your weight and more. And then you get to be in the group. And then you get to be an asset in the group. You know, I was saying that's common amongst operators. Yeah. It's like, you better not be a liability. You're either a liability or you're an asset. Yep. So which one are you going to be? If you're a liability, get off the team. You're not on this team. Now, if you're an asset, boom, that's the only way we accept you. Like, that's the only way you're going to be part of this. What does that do psychologically, mentally? Well, it tells you, like, you better carry your own weight. And that's empowering in a lot of ways, to know that no matter what, you can do at least the job that you're in charge of. That whatever it is you're in charge of, you can do well. And if you do it well, then it affects the group. So that's the same way I kind of approached my jiu-jitsu endeavor, my school. It's like, as long as I know I'm capable, and as long as I do all the things that I could do to make this business endeavor go well, there's no way it's going to fail.
Yeah.
Dude, I like that.
Like, I don't know.
What was that one quote? It's a cool quote by Henry Ford where it's like, whether you believe you can't or you believe you can, you're
both.
Right.
Yeah, you're right in both.
Yeah, that's good. The way that too, but
whatever.
That's old.
No, that's good. I like that.
That was super good. But I'm saying, like what Alex just said, that was a good way to say that, man. Like, you're an asset or a liability. Yeah. And that's true for across the board, right? Like, as parents, Manny and I, like, are you a parent?
Not yet. I'd like to be.
So, like, but like, as parents, you know, like, we could be an asset or a liability as a parent and as a husband. Yeah. Right. Like, there's husbands that are freaking trash, and there's husbands that are pure gold. Right. There's wives that are trash, and there's wives that are pure gold. Yeah. There's fathers, mothers, both sides. Like, we get the ability to be an asset or a liability to our family team. And sometimes I feel like, after watching my wife, I'm like, dang, dude, like, I got to suck it up and I got to step up. Because she's like the asset. Like, and here I am saying, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Yeah. Oh, I have to go train. I said this last night, actually. Yes. I was like, dang, dude, I'm tired from work. Like, I have to go train. And she was like encouraging me. Yes. After just dealing with such a hard day with the kids and being almost 9 months pregnant. Yep. Here she is literally encouraging me to go. Yeah. And I was like, dang, like, I got in the car, like, thinking, I'm just going to turn around and go back home, right? Like, because I was just not feeling it, you know? Yeah, yeah. And I remember, like, just one of those things where I was like, dude, I've committed to something, so I need to follow through. Yeah. And I think that's what jiu-jitsu for me has done. I always say, like, I wish I would have found it when I was younger.
Yeah, same.
But at the same time, would I have appreciated what it's already done for me in such a short amount of time? I don't think so, because I was young and I was very macho Marine mentality, right? Where I probably would have walked into the gym and tried to go against the top black belt dude, and he might have choked me out 15,000 times in 4 minutes, and I would have just kept going because, you know, I was macho guy. Yeah, yeah. And I probably would have got hurt, or I probably would have lost my temper, or I probably would have done something. Versus now, I could care less if 16-year-old dude freaking rolls me up. I'm just like, dude, can you show me how you did that? Like, I have zero pride, you know, like when it comes to jiu-jitsu now. But what it's done for me is it's made me realize this is the only thing I've ever done in my life besides the Marines that is all on me, right? Like, I've always played team sports. Yeah, yeah. Where, like, you could be a liability on the team, but it's a team, right? So the really, really good ones, you know, can carry you.
There's 11 players on the field, so you might be able to hide your lack of whatever.
Exactly, the lack of ability to whether you didn't put the work in to get good enough to be an asset to the team, whether you, like yesterday, didn't want to go, I wanted to turn around, but I was like, dude, I set a goal for myself.
Yeah.
I need to hit that, and I need to keep going, right?
Yeah.
So I literally started back-to-back classes.
Yeah.
Like, ended up not getting home till 9 o'clock.
Mm.
But it was like getting there where I was like, dude, turn around, nah. I got all the way to the toll road, and I was like, should I turn around?
They were like,
Yeah. But it's that mindset of, I'm not saying this to like, if you're listening to like, be like, oh, look at me, I can go do this. It's more of like I still daily have to make these choices.
Correct.
Right? Like, I'm not being paid to go to jiu-jitsu.
Correct.
I'm doing it because I want to get good at something I've never done.
Yep.
And the structure that it's giving me, and the ability to more so jiu-jitsu for me is, it's a commitment of myself to something, right? I decided and I gave myself a goal. So I'm not going to let anybody down if I just decided to quit today.
Correct.
Except myself.
Correct.
And ultimately, like, quitting on myself is going to make me a lesser version of myself.
Mm.
So, you know, for me, I like the jiu-jitsu components. Like, I wish I would have found it, but then would I be appreciative of it?
Yeah.
Would I still be doing it?
Yeah.
Probably not, because I probably would have freaking got kicked out of so many gyms with the temper I had back then. Like, versus now, it's like, you can't make me mad.
Yeah.
Like, it's just gonna be like, whatever.
Yeah.
But
well, that reminds me of what you were talking about earlier. How it's like with the adults, like, they're not a finished product. Some of them are a little stubborn.
Yeah.
But like, that's you're completely saying that, like, it helped. It's like waking up this different type of motivation, this type of discipline. Especially for me, like, when I started fighting, I was such a knucklehead.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to go fight because I was like, cool, I can get paid to punch someone.
Yeah.
And then the moment I started learning, like, what it took to compete at an elite level, it's like, you appreciate that, and you don't want to go waste those talents. And you're almost disrespecting your coaches if you go out and fight in the street.
Yes.
You know, so you're like, oh, you know what? You're going to cut me off, flip me off, and call me fat? Cool. Have a good day. Like, you don't get upset. You don't, because it's not only the discipline and the confidence, it's also appreciating what others poured into you, you know? And so, yeah, man, thanks for coming on.
Dude,
yeah, thank
appreciate you guys. Thank
we'll
you
have
for having
to
me.
do another one of these one day and just
I'm
pick
down.
a topic.
Yeah, Belgium.
It could be
That'd
Belgium.
awesome.
It could
Belgium.
be literally what, I know it's cheesy, but since I love America, it could be like, let's talk about why America is the greatest country on this planet, or whatever. But we always like to ask people, because not a lot of people watch it.
Okay.
So we always like people, or for you to tell them where they can like find you on social media, support your school.
Okay.
Whether you're, you want to learn jiu-jitsu, you can go to a school with him, or if they just want to be like, yo, dude, what's up?
Yeah. So, Gracie Barra Garden Grove is my school. So if you want to find my school, type that on internet, it'll come up, Gracie Barra Garden Grove. And then me on social media, it's Alex DeHue, so just my name.
And then we'll tag that in the comments and stuff too.
Yeah, we'll add it. In the
real quick,
description.
give 3 pieces of information. I'm putting you on the spot.
Oh,
3 little bullet points of just whether it's an encouragement, whether it's a hey, this is what I did to be able to get from where I was to where I'm at. Just like 3 little.
Yeah.
It could be like Marine Corps inspired. It could be jiu-jitsu driven. It could just be get up off the couch and do something. Like 3 little what makes Alex tick bullet points.
All right.
Before we wrap it up.
Because you asked Marine, so I'll say honor, courage, and commitment.
Oh, dang it.
You better have honor, courage, and commitment, but in a more technical way.
That's good.
But you know what? Honor, courage, commitment. It's
everything.
big, man. It's not nothing. There's a reason why those are the core values, you know. In that, I would say aim high. Like, aim as high as you possibly can conceive. Aim at what's the best thing I could do in my life. Like, what's the best way I could be impactful? What's the best way I could change others in a positive way? So what would make me the happiest? So I would say that, aim really high. The second thing would be incredibly responsible. So shoulder duty, shoulder responsibility. The more you do that, most likely the more work you'll put on your plate. But like I said, I think the higher you aim, the more you take on, the more you can extract. Like, the more life lessons you extract out of shouldering duty. You don't extract anything out of your life if you don't shoulder other people's responsibilities. And of course, at core, if you don't shoulder your own. So you definitely got to carry your own cross.
Yeah.
You definitely got to do that. So I would say aim high, be incredibly responsible, shoulder duty. And the last one would be patient, because you guys just mentioned that everything takes time. So you could aim really high and you could be very responsible for yourself and others, but you're not patient and you're looking for the result within a year. Like for me to get to where I got, it's decades of work, decades of pushing, decades of grinding, and now I get to stand happy with myself, tall amongst my brothers, my sisters, my family, my friends. You know, I get to be all that only because I've grinded so hard for decades. So I would say those three: aim high, responsibility, and be patient.
It's awesome, man. Well, I'm good. That's a perfect way to end it.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. And remember, guys, that everything was impossible until someone did it.
You.